So, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm He Jia. I'm an AI researcher and also building my own startup in Silicon Valley. So, then could you turn on the guest page? So let me introduce our guest first. So our first guest is our first guest is Aaron Lee. First, he's the head of science of AWS, also a professor of Columbia University. And our second guest is Jiachen Liu, he's Amber. He's an AI researcher and also previous Meta Superintelligence Lab. And Dr. Yingcheng Wu, he's a PhD from Stanford University. Dr. Fang Wu, he's also a AI researcher and a PhD from Stanford University. So that's all. Okay, let's start it. So our first topic is toward autonomous AI scientists. Anthropic just announced yesterday, like there are signs of the AI starting self-improving, and I assume that's one of the format of AI scientists. So I prepare everyone warm-up question. So first question is for Professor Aaron Lee. Professor Lee has a famous paper, like he proposed the fourth self-improving agent framework on 2024, now adopted by XAI and DeepMind. So next page. Oh, where's my clicker? Okay. So Professor Lee, drawing on the perspective of senior experts from both academia and the industry, how do you view the current process of autonomous AI scientists? And what has changed? What feels real to you? And what is still lacking?
Yeah, great question. So back in early 2024, I thought the model really has amazing capabilities. It shouldn't be limited at a text box. It should really be agentic and do things in the real world, and at least digitally. And so that's the start of the project. And so we came up with this framework. It's actually pretty simple, so I think people rediscover this. So the first thing is, think about if you want to have this AI scientist, right? So the first thing is to be able to propose tasks. It doesn't make sense to, for people to tell the automatic AI scientist to all the tasks, right? So that's a basic capability, and then it should really go out and do things, and it should be able to evaluate its own success or failure, and then iterate, right? So when we started this, we really don't know whether it's feasible or not. We showed it's feasible. And so what has really changed is beyond imagination. And then we're on the path to mass superintelligence. We kind of got the AGI moment for coding. And so think about proposing tasks. I think that's still crucial. That what's lacking is that models can solve, problems most humans cannot solve, even domain experts now. But proposing task is still lacking, right? So still, the best humans still know what to do, and so I think that's number one. That's lacking. Also judgment, right? So people talk about taste. So I think that's lacking as well. Yeah.
Like Einstein says, the real heart is the problem. We don't know the problem yet. Okay. Thank you, Professor Lee. And our next question is for Dr. Jiachen, Amber. So Amber recently released just a trending paper. She talks about, it's called the last human written paper, right? Jiachen, can you briefly introduce your paper first?
So in this paper, we argue that the paper PDF as the most important format of research knowledge is actually broken because it is designed for human reviewers to convince them with a very polished story. So they have to strip out all the failed attempts, all the intermediate thinking process, and all those important details are very important for AI scientists to understand, reproduce, and extend the research. So in this paper, we propose a new protocol called Agent Native Research Artifact, and trying to contain all the dry knowledge produced in the research progress. And we can do like verification, version control, and merge conflict, a lot of things on top to help AI scientists to do better research and compound the knowledge.
Thank you. So my question is, in your opinion, what are some undervalued areas for autonomous AI scientists right now? And yeah.
Yeah, great question. So I think everyone in academia or industry are racing to build better or more intelligent AI scientists. However, no one is actually touching the research ecosystem or infrastructure underlying. What I mean is like the paper format, the peer review system, the evaluation framework, the conferences, all that are built for humans for the past 100 years to accommodate humans' limited bandwidth in terms of like brainstorming, understanding, and experimenting. But AI scientists now essentially has very unlimited scale of doing all of those things. So we should actually rethink about the whole research infrastructure from first principles and trying to accommodate the AI scientists where like the underlying infrastructure is actually the bottleneck of scientific progress speed, in my opinion.
So for the second question, what's the biggest challenge when you are implementing this paper or your personal research?
Yeah, I have been building AI scientists for a while as well, and people are working on different perspectives. I think every perspective people can list a lot of challenges, but I just mentioned one, which is evaluation. I think research is quite different from coding task, that research is open-ended, where you cannot simply say like better accuracy is better research. So how to build this evaluation framework efficiently so we could better, AI cannot do autonomous research right now. If we have such evaluation framework, we can better guide AI scientists to do like more long horizon task.
Okay, cool. We'll talk about the evaluation later. So the next warm-up question is for Dr. Fang Wu. So Dr. Fang recently also published a famous paper called Protein RL, like Reason Bell. So Dr. Fang, could you briefly introduce your paper? Yeah.
Sure. I want just to accept it by ICML 2026. We're focusing on the AI for drug discovery. And as we all know that David Baker and the head of DeepMind, the Demis, just won the Nobel Prize in 2024. But all those generative models for drug discovery are the traditional style, that they use some diffusion models just similar to the image generation, which you denoise from a random noise to some very clean image. And we denoise them to a very clean protein or small molecules. However, this thing, if we think about like what's the lack of what's lack in this paradigm is one, first we human have a lot of domain knowledges that is hidden in the past literatures. Can we use them, right? And the second thing is that this generation process lacks the interpretability. We lacks the explainability. So we change the traditional, the geometric reasoning with the symbolic reasoning that we equipped with a multimodality language model that can reason, can do chain of thoughts, can give you explained reasoning process to why we design this protein, why we design these small molecules. However, this will bring a lot of challenges, and maybe in the next few questions I will answer.
Okay. Yeah, so my question is, it seems like you propose a new paradigm in your paper. LLM is not as a direct generator, but more like a scientific reasoning layer that decides what matters and then guides the specialized domain expert models to do the physical generation, like AlphaFold 3. So how do you think about this paradigm, and will it be the core structure of future AI-driven scientific discovery?
I believe that this dual expert architecture that equipped the generative things with thinking, with explanation, is of course will be the dominant paradigm. But there will be challenge. I think everyone has used the GPT, has used Gemini, has used Cloud. But have you ever asked them to understand small molecules? Maybe some of them have tried, but I think their performance are pretty poor because of what? Because the molecules is multimodality. They are not only sequences like text. They have 3D structures. They have dynamics. They are move in your body. They are move in the world. But unfortunately, these language models, the frontier language models, cannot digest. You cannot feed the 3D structure into them. Yeah, they will have 3D coordinates, but it's pretty challenge for them to understand the force field, to understand the atomic movements, atomic dynamics, right? So in our world, we try to build the first multimodality language models, but there are a lot of things to do. How can we align the different representation space between the language space and the protein language model space, the AlphaFold 3 space, things like that? There are a lot of things to do. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Great talk. So my last warm-up question is for Dr. Ying Cheng. Dr. Ying Cheng, he's building his own company, focusing on out of three areas: autonomous web labs, also the biological world models, also the physical AI infrastructure. So first, Dr. Ying Cheng, could you briefly introduce your startup?
Hi, I'm Charles. I'm AI postdoc at Dr. Le Con's lab, and we are now building up the physical AI scientists that we want to fill the gap between the physical world and the agentic AI. That we want to automate the scientific discovery using the autonomous lab. We are building up the physical AI infrastructure for biology and as well as chemistry and the science.
So my question is, could you tell us about your recent work at Stanford, like bio times physical AI scientist? Also, what exactly is it, and why do you believe it's going to become a game changer for scientific research and lab automation?
Thanks for the great question. So recently, we are building the physical AI scientists that I think almost everybody has used a Claude, used a Gemini, but we have witnessed the bomb up of the multi-agent system. So they are very powerful, but such kind of digital agent cannot enter the physical world, and they cannot get the feedback. Almost every AI researcher believes the scaling law, the first round of scaling law is from the internet that we see is the ChatGPT, and the second round of scaling law is maybe the world model, that the self-driving cars. And the third round, we believe it will be the scientific superintelligence that, the biology or the science cannot be scrapped from the internet. So we need to build up a closed loop system that the AI scientists can train themselves in the physical world that makes them in a full closed loop discovery. So we'll come back to the questions that recently we are working on the physical AI scientists that we want to automate the scientific discovery in the physical world. So we divide the world model into different parts. So for layer one, that is atomic task that we want to build up the universal world model that drives the robotics. And for the layer two, that is the protocol level that we want to automate the scientific discovery, that we are collecting the data, driving the brain for the that vision language model that to enable the long horizon scientific discovery. So in the long term, we believe the physical AI scientists can enable the drug discovery to drive the better healthcare and a better world for everybody. Thanks.
Okay, cool. So let's dive deeper. So like in case of most guys here do not actually a researcher. So basically, human scientific research situation is first we propose some hypotheses, and that's the right one. We generate hypothesis. The second one we design experiments, and then we run experiments, and then we analyze the results. And usually usually your idea doesn't work, so you have to refine hypotheses and then generate a new hypothesis. So that's basically the loop for everyone to understand what I'm talking about. So my first question is, what is still missing before a real AI scientist can truly close the loop from hypothesis generation to real-world experimental validation? So everyone, if you have ideas, please. Anyone want to talk?
Okay, from my point, there are two things. First, as we all know that why language model has already achieved great success. I think because all the tasks that we encountered in our daily life is in domain that has already been seen in their pre-training data, in their post-training data, things like that. However, in our for the biology or for the science part, the data is relatively scarce, is relatively limited, right? And so as we all see that, AI scientists already relatively move fast in math and coding. Why is that? Because math and coding is verifiable domains. You can just verify whether your proof or your analysis of the mathematical analysis is correct or not. And you can also check whether your code is right or correct or not, because you can pass some unit test, right? But for the science things, it's pretty hard to get the rewards, because we need rewards to verify, to do the reinforcement learning, to do post-training, right? But it's pretty long-term to develop, to close this circle. So this is the most challenging thing in AI scientists. And the second thing, I think, is, just as mentioned, how to define this reward. This is also pretty hard. Math and coding, it's just correct or not. But for science, hypothesis, sometimes maybe in the last, maybe in the 1 century ago, you were, some scientific discovery might be just think fake, right? Because our technology is not there. But some hypotheses, how can we verify them? Because, for example, is there any new lives in the world, in the sky, in the space? We cannot verify them. So some things is unverifiable at the current stage. Yeah.
Great. Anyone else want to talk? I just prepare a lot of hardcore questions, so anyone can skip any question. Okay, let's move to the next. So the second one is, how should we truly measure the success of an autonomous AI scientist? Population quality, number, I believe number is definitely not. So experimental hit rate or discovery efficiency?
Yeah, I can take out that question.
Please.
So it's similar to the previous discussions, but I want to put it in another way. So I think research has two trajectory. One is the open-ended research, and one is closed-ended research. For closed-ended research, the efficiency or the success is very easy to measure, because if we train better model accuracy, if we have better efficiency in terms of kernel writing, then it basically means more successful for this AI scientist if they can finish it in within a budget. But I think most of the research, important research or breakthrough, actually come from the open-ended research, or at least a combination of open-ended and closed-ended. And for that trajectory, then it's very subjective. So some people values working on important problems. Some people values engineering, quality to solve actual concrete questions. And some people just values that we should do the hill climbing better, like the closed-ended metrics. So I think we shouldn't have a very limited framework to restrict the AI scientist in terms of open-ended research. And in terms of that, as previously discussed, the reward function is actually undefined for open-ended research, where I believe in the near future we still need a lot of human in the loop to guide the AI scientists what problem to solve, because eventually we have limited resources. We have to steer agent in the middle of the research progress. Otherwise, it will waste a lot of resources on unimportant problem that people don't care.
Yeah, I agree. The resources is a finite thing, right? So I am actually writing a paper figuring out if the AI they're getting self-involving, and they can really build the Dyson ring. We can cover the power around the sign. We can got the solar power and the material. So only AI can do that, because we are carbon-based life, and we are sucks. And the Silicon Valley-based life is really they can build a replicator in a few minutes, and they can live they can live with no air, and not of human can do that. So if you're talking about university level, space level engineering, only Silicon Valley life can do that, right? And that's the core to get more energy and material. Yeah. So the third question is, how should domain player enter AI scientist system, like AlphaFold 3, whatever, the Link4 in mathematics? So we have retrieval like RAG, we have causal models, we have simulators like biosimulators. We have formal verifier like Link4. So what's your opinion? How should we combine the general knowledge with the domain knowledge? Anyone want to talk?
Yeah. I'm just a little bit confused about the question.
Yeah,
but
for example, Dr. Fang proposed a new paradigm, right? Like they use LLM to generate AlphaFold 3 to, to simulate like biomoleculars. But and also, for example, we have a lot of math startups they using Lean4 to verify the mass hypothesis, like the mass proven of LLM generates. There's a lot of ways to combine the domain scientific knowledges into the knowledge into the language model. Yeah, Professor Lee, do you have answer? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it really depends on how essential those domain knowledge is, whether they should live outside of the model or they should be part of the model. I think what Fan has been saying that if you want to design molecules, right, so those domain knowledge like structure, right, and then those should be part of the model, right? So I think the key thing is figure out where it should live, right? So if it's very effective living outside, it should be outside, just like a to-call retrieval. But it needs to be really the natural process to, let's say, design molecules, right? And then it should bring them into the the model. And also that, like Fan said, the data is scarce for these scientific domains, and the prior is really important, right? So for example, the design expert is actually a specialized model, right? It's not a general transformer. Why is that? Because there's not enough data, right? So marry the scaling law of large language model that can really understand vast knowledge and synthesize vast knowledge with specialized model which has the domain prior, has limited data. That's the current approach. Of course, as you get more data, you just start removing these domain prior biases from the model, right? So you want the model to just learn, but if you don't have the data, you have to get those priors into the specialized model. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the neural network is beautiful because they actually can learn everything. Like you can have formal verified simulators, but as the time goes by, the model is pushing itself from frontier more and more. They're eating a lot of outside knowledges. But I think at the frontier, we still need to what the model doesn't have. We need a lot of tools to improve the accuracy in the scientific. So I think this one is for Dr. Charles. In real-world lab, like biological medicine, how do you align AI-generated hypotheses with the noisy wet lab experiment results?
Well, very good question. For me, is that I do my medical training and then transfer to AI for science. So I before Stanford, that we do a lot of wet lab. So we really know that when we deal with the cell culture or doing the flow cytometry for cancer immunology, that it is true the wet lab data is very noisy. So how we can interpret this data and make them into the loop. So for us, that we think we need a physical AI scientist that they can do reasoning, do long horizon task, and they can detect the data and watch the data that makes them to machine readable. And that is the key for the noisy wet lab experiment data. So for us, we think there's a standardized, we call them the cell culture, that we want to automate the cell culture system, that they are composed of around 65% of the biotech task. So the cell culture system is composed of around 13 atomic tasks that we train the vision language action model one by one. So now we can, we're very confident that we can automate the cell culture processes, and we deal the organoid culture, deal the immune cell culture, and we could watch the noisy data and automate the basic element for biology right now. So thanks for the great question.
Okay, cool. So another question is, what are the biggest bottlenecks in scaling autonomous wet lab today? Like robotics, data infrastructure, scientific reasoning? Also for you, I think.
So for us, we could divide the cluster into different layers. So for layer 1, we name it the atomic task, that we have collect the protocols from Nature, Science, that there's around 50,000 protocols, and we distill these protocols, and they are composed around 65 atomic tasks. So right now we has finished around 20% of them, and for layer 1, the atomic layer, we need to train them one by one, especially for the hard atomic task like the pipetting or do the cell culture. And for layer 2, that is a protocol level. It's also hard because we do not have a lot of data. So right now we let the wet lab scientists to wear the smart glasses that collect this egocentric, collect the first view video data that we want to make the vision language model to understanding the science processes itself. So that is the data problem is right now the hardest problem that it need time. We need a data factory to collect the high quality data. So we think that is different 2 layers that is right now the difficult part for physical AI scientists.
Okay, thank you. So we have 2 last questions. The first is, I think it's important. So where should humans remain still in the loop permanently for AI-driven science ecosystem? For example, if you trace back to 100, you definitely do not want to control our nuclear system, right? And also bioeconomy methods and self-improving AI. So what's your opinion? Yeah, for everyone, yeah.
So I will take the question. So
Yeah.
we believe human is in the lead, and everything should be controlled by our scientists, by the human. Like if you want to discover a very dangerous virus like COVID-26 or some kind of toxic proteins, so I want to emphasize that we need a safeguard mechanism to make the scientific discoveries, the AI scientists controlled by the humans, that human in the lead is the key.
Okay. I know there are a lot of investors here, so my last question is for investing. So in which field will be first commercially successful AI scientists emerge? Mathematics, physics, computer science? What's your opinion, everyone? Maybe everyone can propose one area.
Well, the first one is definitely mathematics, right? We're on the path to mass superintelligence.
Okay.
Yeah, I was about to say mathematics because it's like the perfect problem for reinforcement learnings. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's biology and medicine.
Okay.
I agree with 3 of them.
Okay. So I think that's all for the first panel. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for all of the guests and speakers. And thank you, everyone.